Welcome to the Beyond Deadlines podcast, where we tackle challenges that planning and schedule leaders come across on a day-to-day basis. My name is Micah Piippo, and I'm a planning and scheduling manager for Intel.
My name's Greg Lawton. I'm the CEO of an AI schedule management company called Links.
Each episode, we give you tactics and strategies that you can implement right away. Today's episode, we are going on a random adventure. We have a series of topics we're going to run through of just things that interest us, and it is going to be good. So to kick things off, Greg, have you seen the Primavera P6 Pro ChatGPT guide yet?
I've seen it briefly. It's quite cool.
Well, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to give a run through for the audience of this. So for those that have been living under a rock for the last several years, ChatGPT is an AI chatbot agent, and they have custom GPTs where anybody can go create anything around whatever topic they want. And this one was created, is solely focused on Primavera P6, and it can literally answer any question you have about Primavera P6. So Greg, throw me a question about P6 and let's see what it can do.
When are they going to finally update it so that there's a proper cloud version?
I don't think that this can do that.
Okay, let's be serious. Let's ask the question, which is
start with something simple.
What are the types of connectors that I can use to connect activities?
Let's see what we got. So we have finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, start to finish.
Beautiful. This is cool. Right. Like what I like about this kind of stuff now is that it's the barrier to accessing information is just so much less. Like I've got hobbies outside of scheduling and risk, believe it or not, and I actually use this kind of stuff to. I was figuring out how to waterproof flight controller chips over the weekend, and I was finding out how to do that, and you can use sealants almost like nail varnish and things like that, but you can just ask for it.
I'm going to ask, how many baselines can you attach to a single project?
3 baselines.
Yeah, that's right.
Project, primary, secondary. See, this is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, and it can be literally about anything. Like, I'm going to import a project into P6. Can you walk me through step by step? And I'm sure, we could improve our prompts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but watch this one. It'll be, we'll do the same thing, but I want it to wait for each step. Wait after each step until I say proceed. Let's check that out.
Oh, that's cool. Type proceed.
I kind of want to be like Captain Picard and type engage, proceed. So if you're listening on the podcast, basically it is giving us step-by-step directions to Primavera P6. And whenever we say proceed, it says go to the next step, proceed, go to the next step. So what you're able to do here is it just like Greg said, it just unlocks basically a giant manual for Primavera P6 that you can converse with. It's absolutely brilliant, and I think there's a lot of other capabilities.
Let's give a shout out to the guys and gals who made it. Who made this? Because it was at the top, wasn't it? If you scroll all the way to the top.
I think I got to go back to the.
Oh, there we go. By Rasmus Planning Professionals. Shout out to them.
Yeah. I think I'll find out who did it, and we'll link it in the show notes. And give them a shout out. And that way you can go use it and give them a high five because this is super cool. All right, moving on to other cool tech, let's talk a little bit about AR and VR. And I found this interesting company over the weekend.
Squint.
Squint.
Is it Squint or Squint? No, Squint.
I feel like it's Squint.
Yeah, it's Squint. I can't read.
Like mint, but squint. Like, And basically what it looks like they're doing, I haven't had a demo yet in live. I haven't seen anything. But what they're essentially doing is taking manufacturing processes and creating really simple step-by-step directions that it seems like anybody who's doing the actual operation will be able to then record the procedures of how to do that operation. Now, we're in construction, and so my brain instantly goes to this would be super interesting to have applied in construction, where you could take any sort of field construction operation, hey, I'm like, drilling this rivet or welding this steel, whatever, or, doing this cables, and you could set an operation for it and then instantly deploy that operation to loads of other people in the field to hopefully upscale the workforce. And then people could comment on it or like tweak and perfect it. And then you could get the best operation sequence that people could go follow out into the field.
Yeah, I really like this kind of stuff. Like even inside Nodes and Links, we just send videos to each other. Like there's no need to sit on a 30-minute meeting where you speak for 3 minutes. Like you can just send a video explaining something and you can share that with 20 people and people can comment or send videos back and you can watch these videos at 2 times speed. So it's asynchronous working. Like I've thought about this quite a lot. How amazing would it be if you just went on a construction site, just give me 5 days and an iPhone and I'd just go around and find all the, who's the best welder here? Oh, that'd be Dave or whatever. And just go, hey, Dave, can I just follow you around for a day and just video you doing things and ask you questions? And what you're doing there is properly capturing experience because you could obviously take the video of what the individual's doing, but you could also take what they're saying and then that could start to inform elements of your knowledge graphs or your knowledge databases. I think this is genuinely the future. Like, I think that it's going to be a very short amount of time until every company has essentially their own intranet, I guess. It's going to be their own Google database of how do I do this? And there's somebody explaining it inside the company. Like I can go to YouTube and go, how do I do this on P6? But, it could be one in Intel where you are, which is how do we plan a chip build? And it literally is you giving the video about how you do the schedule and what are the major milestones and the core activities you need in there and the processes and that kind of thing. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I think it definitely gives you an insight to where things are going.
Yeah.
Where's this ship headed and the capabilities there. So it'll be interesting to see, how it takes off and goes. But go ahead.
For people listening to this, if I was about to say a piece of actionable insight right now, get yourself on camera. So, and Micah, you can share your opinion. You're obviously listening to this. Micah and I are just passionate about projects and project controls and scheduling, and just decided to take the plunge and do a podcast. Micah and I genuinely get approached by people either offering us jobs or asking for advice, and it's purely the exposure effect, like the popularity effect. In your company, I'm guessing the same thing will happen. Like if you're the person explaining the schedule to most people, people will regard you as a little celebrity inside the company, which is only to your advantage. So I'd say, feel free to go to your marketing department or whatever and suggest this kind of stuff.
Yeah, to me, the big advantage of this is a lot of people, my company isn't very innovative, or I don't do this, or I don't do that. Well, eventually you will find yourself in a position where your company wants to try something new or is innovative or however it works. And just being out there and exploring the stuff and demoing it, it's going to really help you out as you go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just second what you're saying. All right, switching gears a little bit. I saw our friends at Nodes and Links dropped this little dime for us. When do I get my signed copy of the Nodes and Links dropped a generative AI for project managers ebook? That's for free. You can go sign up. Link down in the show notes. All right. Well, I don't have my ChatGPT open. I don't have the ebook, but give me the 3-bullet summary of what we're covering here, Greg.
So this was actually a collaboration between some of the data scientists and the product people who sit with users every single day, and some actually external writers. And they did 3 of them. There was project managers, planners, and risk managers, and it was essentially the summation of, I don't know how many interviews, it must be hundreds of interviews with people across the industry who are in those positions who are using generative AI, and it's how they're using it today. And it really is, what's the business cases that they've produced internally? How do they evidence those business cases? What are the specific things they're targeting? So, I remember one in these is like project reporting. So it's like how using generative AI for project reporting is not a novel idea anymore, but it's actually how do you write the business case for it, that kind of thing. So a lot of that is contained in here, and it's generally a little bit of a labor of love from the team on what they're actually just working on every single day, and I think putting the ebook and the team aside, I actually wish that a lot more people wrote about what they're working on every single day, because it's just genuinely interesting. It's like it moves away from what I'd call normal boring marketing, and it's more actually about an announcement of passion.
I wish people did that as well too. I wish more people just could share or shared what they're working on, had passion projects, showed you the little cool thing they did. Just that ChatGPT that came up, that was someone's passion project where they came up with, hey, I didn't have to do that. I didn't probably expect any reward out of it, but they went and, provided value, gave themselves out there. And now you have this really cool ChatGPT tool that is going to be used for all sorts of different purposes outside of what they thought it was. And so
maybe you and I actually run a quarterly, best passion project award, and maybe we get like people to vote on it. So, if you have a passion project, send it to us, and then, we could get people to vote on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, get the credit.
It's like a beyond deadlines passion project Oscars.
Yeah, I'll be Simon Cowell.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be Sofia Vergara. Oh, very cool. So let me ask you this though. I mean, I have not read it yet, but based on the book, is this going to be irrelevant in a year, or are these?
No,
is this kind of built as a tried and true principle style?
It's tried and true principles. So the challenge I actually set to the team is, I want you to produce content that other people would only release if you paid for it. So it's like what are the secrets of business cases that consultants, people create these little newsletters or ebooks, but the main part of the value is hidden because obviously you have to call them and employ them for them to kind of deliver on that. And that,
yeah, you got to buy their thing, their package, their course, their
exactly.
whatever.
And in here we're like, no, actually, why don't we just give everything away for free that other people charge for, to just really increase the accessibility that people have in the industry to that level of knowledge. Like for us generating ebooks, it's great marketing, but generating ebooks doesn't make us money. We make money when we deploy AI into projects. But it's about what I'd call the corporate persona or the company persona. It's like, what does the company really stand for? Is the company just there purely to make money, or is the company there to actually motivate people to be passionate about things? That's kind of actually the the real big thing for me. It's like, why did we start the company? It was actually because we're just super passionate and we wanted an outlet for that passion. And I just encourage everyone to have a think about that and to do the same. Create an outlet for the passion you have.
Yeah, what's this guy in the background? What's his passion? What is that, you working on your drones?
Hell yeah.
We're going to get to drones. I'm going to put the pin on drones. We're going to come back to drones real quick. But the last one that we saw that was interesting is a company called Planera.
Planera. Yep.
And so Planera is an interesting one for me. I've seen a lot of these. If you remember our talk about schedule levels, so schedule levels at you can go super formal EPC style, or you kind of get into a less informal world. But basically, a schedule level, like a level 1's a milestone schedule. A level 2 is a milestone schedule with some additional high level bars. A level 3 schedule, you start adding in the critical path and more activities, and you go to a level 4 where you can get into actual trade sequencing. You get a level 5 where you get a detailed,
Mm-hmm.
Primavera P6 is really good 1 through 3. It's a great information storage database. It's great for a total program. It can struggle and be laborious at times to do team collaborative planning in it, boots on the ground planning. There's a load of software out here like this. This one I thought was super interesting because of the whiteboarding space that they have, and their connectability back into your schedule is super brilliant. It's clean and it's refreshing. You can basically take out fragments, do your planning in it, and it auto puts it back in really nicely. It's one that I just found that I thought was, and they also have quite a good dashboard as well to go with their planning. So this is one that I found. There's tons of them out there, but this one caught my eye.
I actually really like the idea of these. It's the scheduling software that we have today, not just the P6s, but like the Microsoft projects, etc. They were all designed in an era before we really had a lot of information on user experience. And if you actually think about this, just think about how user experience has changed over the past 20 years. So 20 years ago was 2004. Yeah. Facebook was just getting going. The internet was still a bit Ask Jeeves. Google was obviously becoming the main player, but it was kind of Ask Jeeves. And
tell me what generation you're from without telling me what generation you're from. Ask Jeeves.
But it was that early generation, and the softwares were very much database and not really thinking about the usability. And usability comes into two elements. One is the efficiency of how you can get from intent to action, and the second is how does it make you feel. So like, why is Google so clean? Like that kind of thing. And this to me is really thinking about what developing scheduling's about. Ultimately, you need to sit down with the engineers and read the engineering documentation and change engineering intent and commercial intent into a plan. Then you also need to be able to sit down with the teams on the ground and break what would be a large intent, build a wall, into the subcomponents in the supply chain. And all of those people that I've mentioned, they're not planning experts. They don't want to sit on software to think about finish start relationships and this kind of thing. So being able to very coherently have that conversation and then pull it into what is a contractual file, I'm quite excited about that. Now, what really excites me is, when is that process going to be facilitated by a Gen AI consultant? So when does a consultant come in and say, okay, what would you like to build? Well, here's our engineering documentation. Okay, let me. And obviously it has a voice and you can talk to it. I can see within 10 years, people will sit in big conference rooms talking with the AI, telling it what to do.
All right, Marty McFly. I think that's probably, as you start to stretch this out, where it naturally leads us. I think early on, to me, I'm still waiting for that more assistance in the building process.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel is too challenging to pull in or do. I've seen a couple different applications of it out there, but it doesn't seem, like it's well built in or well thought out. But yeah, most people, if you look at project management overall, you have these sub pillars of, safety, quality, but you go to like a house construction project, you have one project manager doing it all.
Yep.
And so is that the trajectory we're headed on, where one person, is given the powers to do it all, or is it that these individual pillars get even further upscaled and have even further enhanced capabilities?
I think it's something different. I think it's, someone coined this to me the other day, and it was destroy the silos. Like, historically, there weren't specialities like there are today. Like, you had project managers, and to be honest, engineers did a lot of the project management. And then project management get kind of coined around the Apollo launch program, that kind of thing. As a profession, obviously, they'd existed before that. And then, with professionalization comes specialization and segmentation. So then we came up with the schedulers, the risk management, the cost management, the procurement, all of this kind of thing. And
then we decided to say there's planners and there's schedulers, just because, that needed to happen.
And then whenever you have teams in the modern era, every team needs to have their own database or platform of some kind. And it's like the ever segmentation. So planners have P6 or Microsoft Project. Cost people have, whatever database they've decided on. Risk people have whatever database they've decided on. And what it essentially does is the software gets more complex, so the profession gets more siloed, which means that the communication between functions only happens through people and not through any interaction with the data. And what I see now is a destruction of the silos, which is the software programs are getting more complex, but by doing so, they're making the interaction simpler. So Gen AI, it's a more complex bit of kit, but you can just go, what's the progress of my project? And it just tells you. So you don't have to go into the databases. And I think that's the direction for me that everything's going. It's destruction of silos by well-designed communicative technology.
That's spicy. I like that. I'll buy it for $1. I'll also, since I haven't had a full breakfast, be more pessimistic and just say it's just going to further the silos as they build these capabilities within their individual ecosystems, but there's no branch between them. As you see the design take over and be a design thing, and then eventually they'll bolt on some sort of like half-baked scheduling thing, and the scheduling will just keep going down on its road, and cost will just keep living in spreadsheets, and risk analysis will keep being this thing that kind of does a little bit of everything, but not quite. So we'll see what plays out.
We'll see what plays out.
After breakfast, I'll be like, silos are going down, man. Before breakfast, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for it.
It'll take time, but like I ask myself, who wins? And I'm like, if you're the company that can make faster, better decisions because you've got greater transparency, then you win in a singular competitive market. But you've just got to look at the trend that every single consultant under the sun's done around Power BI from PowerPoint reporting. Like, that is the thing that every consultant, and now every single consultant will be getting on the generative AI bandwagon. So it's like, it's the unstoppable force in my mind.
Yeah. Let's circle back to drones. And speaking of transparency of projects, let's talk about drones.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about cool projects that you wish you could fly drones around.
Right, are we talking about? Okay, so for all the listeners here, one of my hobbies is actually drone flying. So Micah's pulling me on this.
Yeah.
Right, are we talking about flying around for the fun of it, or flying around because it's beneficial to the project?
Let's start with the fun of it. Let's start projects you'd fly around for the fun.
Right. So for everyone listening, I fly FPV, which is first person view. So I've got the goggles on. I would 100% love to do a scaffolding. I'd smash a few drones into the ironwork, but I'd like to do backflips around those.
No one is working that day.
No. I'd love to do tunnels. tunnels would be really cool to do. Obviously, the crazy ones like the big towers or the Neon project in Saudi, just because that'd just be absolutely crazy. And also mines. Mines would be good because you can do cliff dives. So you could like pop out a kilometer. Obviously, you've got your permission from the local aviation authority to do so, but you could pop out like a kilometer in the sky, just cut the engines and just dive straight through, the center of the earth. That would be quite cool.
Yeah. One that just came to mind as you were talking is that massive pool. I think it's in, I don't remember where it is. Maybe it's in Saudi Arabia.
It's Dubai, isn't it?
South Korea, I forget. One. Dubai, is it? The deepest, if it got drained of water and you could fly your drone around in that.
Yeah.
Where it'd just be this massive underground. But you know what would be cool as well? I was seeing that they have, I think it's definitely a military project for sure, where they're making unmanned submarines now. So submarines that don't, it's just like planes, drones that don't require humans to be in it. They're making submarines for that.
That's so interesting to me because I'm kind of like, how do you control
And I'm wondering if there's going to be a recreational,
there already is. You can buy recreational submarines, remote control submarines now, FPV submarines. It's a bit different because they don't have the, if you go underwater, for people, if you actually go underwater more than like a meter or two, normally the thing's black because of the silt. So actually, you'd need a proper acoustic sonar, but those aren't on RC drones now because they're pretty expensive to do. But you can get them. They're connected by a wire, and it's just a really long wire. The remote, I'd have to know about the military submarines because water is a really big absorber, and the whole thing about a submarine is normally it's secret. So either the way you communicate, through water is either sound waves or hugely powerful light waves which heat the water, both of which you can sense. So I'm kind of like, how would you communicate with a secret thing when no one knows that you're communicating with the secret thing? Unless you let it go rogue, like the new Mission Impossible film.
I haven't watched it yet.
I don't know.
All right, quick, circle it back to actual planning and scheduling. A couple of your drone-related use cases that are either in play today or will be in play soon that you think are great.
It's quite so. There's two things I do immediately if I was on a big project, like a big mining project or a big chip field or something like that. Number one is I'd bring in off-road drones. So a friend of mine runs a company in Switzerland called Ascento, where they build off-road drones for patrol, and they can go like 20 miles, and they've got legs so they can walk, but they've got wheels instead of feet so they can move. And you could just send them and say, I want to go see this, and it's got a big camera on top. And the other is I do a UAV control station. So they're not FPV because it's more like the kind of stuff you do with DJI, just that you can get American ones. And I'd have a system whereby I could fly. I'd actually have an air zone in the project, and I'd have it so that you have lanes where you can fly and see anything you want. Because I could be on the phone to you, and you could, I could be like, how's that looking? And you're like, well, I'm looking now, and you could just fly the drone over straight away. And I'm like, why would I ever need to move from my office desk in that situation? You could get so much controls work done so quickly.
That couple come to mind for me is boundaries. And so if you're working on a site that's space constrained, seeing where your boundaries are falling, and if you're going into places where you have to then dig and remediate, but then put back, you have like a photo evidence of where you put all the quantification you could ever want in your life. How much dirt you've moved, how many piles you've put in, foundations, how much steel you've put up. That to me is probably a couple of the ones.
By the way, it's so easy and cheap. So let's say that you want it. So let's say you wanted a drone rig. Let's say using DJI just to be very simple. There's restrictions around that, but what you could do is create a ground station. I could build a ground station for less than $1,000. And a ground station, for people listening, is where you stick the aerial on the roof and you have electricity plugged into it so it boosts the signal. And you could be sat in your office with you could fly the drone from just sitting inside a meeting room, so you can connect to it. And those if you're using digital transmission on line of sight, those can go about 20 kilometers now. If you're using analog, you can push it out 40, 50 kilometers with enough power. You'd need to get permission from the band radio people for that, but it's fairly straightforward. If you don't want to do a DJI system or that kind of thing, you could actually just build a full drone VTX rig. I could do a HD one for about $400, and still they fly themselves nowadays. The Betaflight software that's globally available, you can just tune it so that it follows GPS routes. So it's so easy to do these things nowadays.
Yes, you could do all of that, or you can also just dial up drone deploy.
Do they do it for you?
And they'll take care of you as well too.
I'm too much of a geek. I'd be like, I want to fly it.
Ooh. You start talking, I'm like, I could do all that, or I just, there you go. I think there's tons of other companies out there. I think that's just one that I remember on top of my mind. That it's very easy to call them up and then get you set up and then get you going. There's a couple.
We're talking things here. I've just, I treated myself to a new long range drone that's hopefully coming in about a week or two. I'm going to try and dive it down. Ooh. I'm going to try and dive it down the Matterhorn in Switzerland.
Wow. And Greg had his drone for a total of 1 day.
Well, that was a fun way to spend $1,000.
Yeah. You could have just bought scratch tickets. All right, folks, that wraps it up for this week of Beyond Deadlines. If in the future you have any other topics you want to cover, please reach out to us. Let us know. We are happy to dive into whatever interests you, because typically it will interest us. If you could do us one favor before you take off for the week, will you please subscribe to the channel wherever you are listening? It really helps us build the community and grow. A ton of listeners out there on most platforms. It's like something like 50% do not subscribe. Why do you keep on clicking all those buttons every week? You're wasting time. Stay on your critical path. Be subscribed. Be ready to listen. And from us at Beyond Deadlines, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.